Hello there. Welcome to Penny Dreadful Season 22. Season 21 is already rotated out, and I want to make a list of some of the exciting cards that are now playable in Penny Dreadful. So, first off is blue. Here's some fun new blue cards. Let's go. First off, there's Training Grounds. It's a 1 mana blue enchantment that makes activated abilities of creatures cost 2 less to activate, but it's unable to make it cost less than 1 mana. There's two cards in Penny Dreadful that I thought, show this ability pretty well. Spectral Sailor and Tassiger. These are both cards with pretty decent activated abilities that Training Ground can help. So yeah. Next up is Tidebinder Mage. It's a pretty fun card that can tap a red or green creature for as long as it's on the field. If you're running a Merfolk deck, you might main deck this just like as a 2/2 body, but I think this might be in a side deck if you can't deal with big creatures, especially because of cards like Prowling Serpapard that can't be countered and make it so like creature spells cannot be countered. So if you can't deal with those big creatures, then this could be an option. Then we have Vapor Snag. It's a 1 mana instant. It bounces a creature and it deals 1 damage. It's not too special as there's a ton of bounce spells, but dealing that extra damage might make this reason play this over something else. Then there's Brainstorm. It's a pretty powerful card that is much more powerful probably in other formats, but we still do have some fetch lands, the less powered ones, but still. And its effect says you get to draw 3 cards and then put 2 cards from your hand on top of the library in any order. Fetch lands, you can shuffle the top 2 back into your deck and get whatever cards later, so you don't have to draw it again, but there are some decks that would want it specifically, but I think a lot of blue decks wouldn't mind having it, and that's Mill, as Mill does use Evolving Wild sometimes and some of the other fetch lands that are available, like Grixis Panorama, because of Crab. Rishadan Dockhand is a 1 mana 1/2 Merfolk, which was pretty hyped up during MH2. I think a lot of people were really happy to see this card, and it's just now coming into Penny Dreadful. It helps you slow down your opponents, which is always nice by tapping a land, but against certain strategies such as Cloud Post, it can get a little more value than you expect. So Cloud Post or bounce lands. I'm not sure which bounce lands are legal, if any, but it's a great example of how it can work. Cloud Post is definitely legal though, I've been playing it recently. Tidal Warrior is also a merfolk. It's a 1 mana 1/1, and its effect lets you tap itself and target land as an island until end of turn. It can fix your mana if you're running too many colors or you just happen to not have enough blue. You can do that. Or if your opponents don't use blue, you can always, tap and take them off a color maybe if they have multiple colors. But what it always can do is it can help enable Island Walk, since there are a good amount of merfolk with Island Walk. So if they don't run blue, you can always guarantee to get your Island Walk if you have Tidal Warrior out. So that's always nice. Get some advantage off of that. Then there is Piracy Charm. It's a 1 mana instant. I haven't really seen it much, so I'm not sure how good it is really, but I think it looks really fun, regardless of how good it is, so I'm pretty excited to see it here. It has 3 different modes and is an instant. It can give a creature +2/-1. It can give a creature Island Walk, and it can make a player discard a card. So that's pretty cool. +2/-1 is pretty interesting. I don't know how often it'll be used as removal, but there are some pretty powerful cards that are 1 toughness, such as, oh, what's that card? The flip card that just got reprinted in Midnight Hunt. I don't remember. It's a 1/1, turns into a 3/2, but you can use this to get rid of it if it's only got 1 toughness. So that's pretty cool. I don't know how often you'll be able to do that, but also, combat tricks and just getting 2 extra damage is always nice too. Giving creature Island Walk is always nice, since, if you have Tidal Warrior out and you don't have a creature with Island Walk, this can always help you with that. And then making a player discard a card is always good. It's not as great as, your choice of discard, but maybe you're in a top deck war and you can just cast this as soon as they draw a card before they can play it. It's never dead, which is nice. Then we have Omen of the Sea. It's a 2 mana enchantment, 1 blue, 1 colorless, and has flash, so you can cast any time. When it enters the battlefield, you get to scry 2 and draw a card. And then later on, you can pay 3, 2 and 1 blue to scry 2. So that's nice. Use any extra mana later on to just help you filter your deck a little better. Erayo's Seratami Ascendant is a flip creature card that when the fourth spell of a turn is played, you can flip it, and it counters the first spell played by your opponent during each turn. So that's really cool. Being able to maybe win counterspell battles with this card or make it a lot harder for them to do anything is fun. It's a little hard to enable since you do have to play 4 spells in one turn. So I don't know how often I'll be able to see it or if anyone really will play it, but if you can turn it on and if you do choose to play it, it definitely can be worth it. Merroy Reejery is another merfolk, which is really cool to see. A lord that gives other merfolks +1/+1, and whenever you play a merfolk spell, you get to tap or untap target permanent. So you can, it's pretty nice because you can untap your own lands to play more cards if you want, or you can tap your opponent's blockers or lands to try to not let them interact with you as well. Master of Etherium is a artifact creature that has power and toughness equal to the number of artifacts you control. So they cost 3 mana, 1 blue, and 2 colorless. And other artifacts you control get +1/+1. So it's a nice payoff for having a ton of artifact creatures, and it's a lord for artifact creatures, or just artifacts even. It can get bigger toughness for, but yeah, it's cool. There's also Antiquities War for artifacts, which for the first 2 turns let you look at the top 5 cards of your library, and you may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. You put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And then for the 3rd turn, all your artifacts become artifact creatures with 5/5s. So it might help you end the game if you have a ton of non-creature artifacts. And especially since Master of Etherium is here, it might be a good way to just end the game. There's another really cool artifact synergy card with Tezzeret Artifice Master that's getting added. It's a 5 mana planeswalker, 2 blue and 3 colorless. It's pretty cool to see 3 of these getting added at once, so you can get some pretty cool artifact decks going. This +1 lets you create a 1/1 colorless Thopter creature token that also is an artifact with flying, which is pretty cool. Just get some artifacts on the field. Maybe with Master of Etherium, just get a 2/2 instead. Zero effect's also really nice. You get to draw a card, but if you control 3 or more artifacts, you draw 2. So, those 1/1 Thopters are artifacts, so that's pretty cool. And then the -9 emblem ability is at the beginning of your end step, search your library for a permanent card and put it into the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So you could get more Tezzerets or something, or you can just get tons of artifacts from your deck for free. So that's always really cool. Pretty fun card. Here's some artifacts some of them are just getting introduced now. Master of Etherium and Smuggler's Copter, but Brainstorm and Icy Manipulator are both here, so that's pretty cool. Mine is Dilation. This is a little bit of a fun card that I like. It's just getting added now, and it is a 7-drop, but once you get out there, it's a ton of value every turn. So whenever an opponent casts his or her first spell each turn, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So there are Warp World and Glimpses of Tomorrow that are legal this season. So maybe you'll see play there, but it could even see in a blue control deck, such as maybe even Erayo, Seratami's Descendant, as just extra value. So I don't know, but it'll be really cool to see if anyone does play it. It's fun. And Magic Mirror. This is a legendary artifact, so another artifact. It costs 9 mana, but for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard, it costs 1 less. So at best, it could cost just 3 blue, which is pretty nice. Its effect is that you have no maximum hand size, and at the beginning of your upkeep, put a counter on it, and then you draw a card for each counter. So whenever I play this card, I always worry about like decking out or trying to get value off of drawing cards. So here's 2 cards that could be fun with this. Psychosis Crawler, where you get to deal damage to them every time you draw a card. So, get that few extra points of damage every turn from Magic Mirror. Try to kill them before you start to worry about your deck size. And then there's Laboratory Maniac, which says if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. So that's also pretty cool. If you were to deck out, Laboratory Maniac lets you win the game instead. And Psychosis Crawler, I always forget about this, also has power and toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand, so it can be a little bit of a beater itself too, which is nice. Since I doubt you're going to be casting like 4 cards a turn every turn. So then there's some multicolored cards that I want to look at. I think are pretty exciting. Mantis Rider. It's a 3/3 with Vigilance, Haste, and Flying, which is pretty nice. I don't have much to say about it, but it's pretty cool. And I've seen play in Modern and stuff, so I'm excited to see if it does anything. Then there's Vadrok, Apex of Thunder. It's a 3 mana, 1 blue, 1 red, 1 white. And its mutate is 1 colorless, 1 white or blue, and 2 red. So it's 4 mana mutate. It has Flying and First Strike, and whenever it mutates, you may cast target non-creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. At worst, you can cast some Ops, maybe some Shocks from your graveyard, but you could even grab enchantments or something, so if you have some vital synergies or something, it could be really cool. There also are some other mutate cards that are around. It's a good amount of them, but here's 2 of them that I have seen before in Arena. Not on Penny Dreadful yet, but I'm interested to see if Mutate deck will see any play. But yeah, there's some fun Mutate cards. Then there's Reflector Mage. It's a pretty powerful card that bounces an opponent's creature, and the opponent can't cast creatures with the same name as the creature until your next turn. So not just the one you bounce, but any other ones they have in their hand, they just can't play, which is always cool. It's pretty strong in some other formats. So I'm pretty excited for it here, see if it does anything. Then there's Soulherder, a 3 mana creature, 1 white, 1 blue, and 1 colorless. Whenever a creature is exiled from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Soulherder, and at the beginning of your end step, you may exile another target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. You can blink anything. If you stole it, that's a bad idea, but you know, won't recommend that, but it is pretty nice how it enables itself to get bigger, and, you know, cards that enter the battlefield effects like Reflector Mage or Archaeomancer, which are both playable, can give you value for this for free. Ephara, God of the Polis, is a 4 mana god, 6/5 with Indestructible. And as long as your devotion to white and as Soulherder, and its effect says at the beginning of each upkeep, if you had another creature enter the battlefield under your control last turn, you get to draw a card. So that's pretty nice. Cards like Soulherder do exile and then return to the battlefield, so that can enable it without having to cast creatures. We could also just cast creatures, so that's nice. And then there's Nicol Bolas, God-Pharaoh. It's a fun planeswalker. Costs 7 mana, 4 colorless, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red. Its +2 lets you exile cards on top of your opponent's library until they exile a non-land card, and until the end of the turn you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So that's pretty nice. Free cards, always good, and from your opponent too, nonetheless. It's +1. Each opponent exiles 2 cards from his or her hand, so bye-bye hand. -4, deals 7 damage to a target opponent or creature an opponent controls, so you can't deal 7 to your own creatures, which is interesting. But being able to deal 7 to them instead of the creature, if you just need to get some damage in, is always cool. Maybe finish them off with 7 damage. Or like some pretty big creatures can just get got like that, so that's cool. And the -12, exile each non-land permanent your opponent controls. So you can just say, it's got its own little wrath on it, which is nice. And then there's Emergent Ultimatum. It's a recent card from, what is that, Ikoria? Yeah. That had those, you know, the ultimatums were pretty strong in standard. I don't know exactly if Emergent was one of them that were specifically powerful, but it lets you search your library for 3 monocolored permanents. Your opponent chooses one of them to shuffle back into the library, and the other 2 you get to pay without you get to play without paying their mana costs. So that's pretty cool, pretty powerful, and if you get it off, it's pretty fun. Just get some really big stuff on the field, always nice. So I was pretty excited for some of the old cards which are rotating in, but there also are new cards from Midnight Hunt that are now playable. So I thought I'd give those their own category and not really let them, you know, and let the old cards shine first. First off, consider. It's a new 1-mana instant that you might want to replace Oz with depending on your deck. Its ability to help enable delve effects is pretty nice, as Thought Scour isn't legal in PD as it's too expensive, so this is pretty cool. Just getting an extra card in your graveyard for Tasigur and Treasure Cruise is always nice. Fading Hope is another new bounce. It's a new bounce spell, whereas Vapor Snag deals 1 damage. This one lets you scry 1 if the bounce creature was mana value 3 or less. So getting an extra scry can help you filter your card draws, which is nice. I don't know if this will see play at all, especially over Vapor Snag. But if it does, some decks might want it over. So yeah. Triskaidekaphile is a 2-mana creature. It's 1 blue and 1 colorless, and has the effect of you have no maximum hand size at the beginning of your upkeep. If you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. You can also pay 4 to draw a card, which is nice. So stuff like Training Grounds, which can make the draw card cheaper to only cost 1 blue and 1 colorless instead of 4. It's nice. And cards like Magic Mirror help you draw a ton, so yeah, it's pretty cool. Some fun stuff happen. Arcane Infusion is a 2-mana red-blue instant with flashback that lets you look at the top 4 and add an instant or sorcery to your hand, bottoming the rest. So getting an extra counterspell or draw spell based on the situation is nice. So since it's an instant, you can wait till your opponent plays something and see, do I need to counter this or can I grab a draw spell? That's nice, and it also has flashback, so later in the game you can, you know, get free value. Well, you don't have to play a card, but you play a ton of mana, so. And then last but not least, there's Croaking Counterpart. It's a fun spell to clone cards with if they have an impactful effect. It also has flashback, so if you want it again later, it's more than just delve fodder, so it can do stuff by itself too. And there's a few cards I thought could be useful with this. Triskaidekaphile, in case you know your opponent has some like a ton of removal and you don't want to risk. You want this to be hard to remove, so you can clone it for 3 mana and just, you know, try to keep it on the field. And there's also Tempest Djinn, which is a 3-mana creature that gets you +1/+0 for each basic island. So if you're running a ton of islands, then this can help you just put another beater in play if you just need to get damage in. So yeah. There's my list of fun new blue cards. There's a ton more. These are just some that I saw. So thanks for watching. If there are any cards or decks you're excited for, just let me know. I'm also doing some, I might be doing some for the other colors too, so that's pretty cool. I already have a list, but I haven't done those yet, so we'll see. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.